24. Let's get this shell down the paint shop. Something's shine. We're coming down to earth. We're going to take that car away. I can't wait. Can you wait? Let's get down the paint shop soon. Everybody, go away! I got crazy.
I ran and found him on the ground. The lights went out, but I thought I heard a sound. You know it's right.
Alright, car back on its side, and we've got some cleaning up to do. Look at the burnout where we fitted that auto transition tunnel aperture, and the brackets just want taking off, the old ones, and then some steel sheet to just box these in. Now we're going to make them boxed in and give them more stability, because even as they are there's still a little bit of movement in them, so we can totally box those in with some sheet steel and get them looking as factory as we can while we've got the chance just before we get picked up for paint. We've got a couple of days just to finish this off, so away we go with that. We're going to first get the flat wheel on the angle grinder here and ready. Flat wheel on, then we'll take that off there, the old mount, and then after that some cardboard to make some templates, and we will box that in so that it all goes across to the floor. Grind a little bit of the Gravitex off, then once that's done and seam sealed on, we'll then re-Gravitex that area, just a light spray over, so that you won't even tell when we're finished. It's all going to blend in. Looks rough now, but when we're finished with that, we'll show you how neat we can get that looking. So away we go first with the flat wheel. Flat wheel on now, I'm going to buzz this off. Welcome to my 5-hour time warp. So what we did, we just finished the brackets off as you saw. I was just prepping it then, but I've just jumped you straight in to the finished article. Saved you any boring bits. Straight to the finished article, then we're done. So we just cut with cardboard templates. We made some infill pieces with cardboard templates. We made some infill pieces and folded and welded and joined, and that follows the contour of the shell, and then we seam sealed in and Gravitexed over the top. So the original brackets stayed in place, and all I've done is boxed it in. So same on the top one, boxed it in so it looks a bit more like it should be on the car. So following that profile there, we're just using a serial packet and a pen, drawing the profiles out, and then cutting out with tin snips little pieces and folds. There's a couple of folds made on this piece. That's a sort of long shape, folded there, folded down. So that's how we did those mounts, and looking just down the tunnel, which is the way you'd probably see them if you're looking underneath the car. I think you'll agree we're looking nice there. So that finishes off the underside of the car, and it means now that I can take the car to the paint shop knowing that I've got everything ready, that they'll be able to paint underneath here. Now there's no work for me to do. So we'll see you down the paint shop next for this part of the film. It's only a short film, this one, before Christmas. Probably only going to get you half an hour's worth of footage. So welcome aboard, and let's get down the paint shop soon. We'll just do some tidying up, finishing some last jobs before it goes. I know I keep saying that every single time, don't I? I've been saying that at the end of every video, just do some small jobs, but what can I say? Those mounts had to be done. And there's a few other little mini jobs. I'm just going around it, just trying to remember if there's all the trim clips and holes are drilled. And did we do the bumper underrider holes? Yes, we did. Reg plate holes, yes, they're in. So we're all good there. I don't think there's anything else underneath the car. Should we get ready to? Should we ring Dave up and get going in a minute? Let's give him a call and see where he is, and we'll get the truck down. We'll ring the body shop. We'll see if they're ready. That slot's looking good at the moment. It's looking like around the 26th of November for our slot at the paint. So I'll be just finished everything on time to join the next paint slot. Been thinking, but I can't think of anything else. I've fitted the cruise control brackets inside, so I didn't have to drill any holes for those. Well, I did drill holes, but the holes are drilled, so that when the shell's painted, your holes are painted up too. So definitely running out of stuff to do. I've had to tidy up, brushed up, cleaned up, vacked up, ready to rock. So then, all that we can be left to do now is wait for the footage to roll as Dave's truck comes in and we load this up. We'll see you in a sec for that. Just a quick mock-up of the bracket, or say mock-up, just a test fit, see how it goes on. So that looks good. I think that looks nice and neat. Closest I'm going to get to doing a factory look. So that bracket goes on there, you can see how it kicks up, which is why that mount was built shallower than the other one. This is the way this Granada gearbox mount works, so that fits on nice and looks the base. So I'm happy with that way that's gone. I think it's all done, all the traces of the old mounts are gone. You had to do one spot weld ripped, I had to mig up and just do a repair there, but that's now re-Gravitexed, seam sealed and re-Gravitexed, all done. Say all the infill panels in to make those brackets look like box section, not box section, just, you know, what we would call them, Cortina looking brackets, the same idea as this, I suppose, these type situations. I haven't put tabs on mine, there is a small lip at the bottom where I just migged it, the seam seal was covering that, and then this was migged just at the end. Didn't go too crazy on it, there's a little tab on that one. But yeah, there you go, that's how we're done. Looking good though, just waiting for a call from the paint shop, but they're saying the 26th of November, so I'm then going to ring our transport guy Dave and then just get him provisionally booked in for that. So we'll flip this back round on the next job and stick us on the wheels, and then I'm done. Then I'll start doing other jobs where this will be rolling out the workshop.
7th of December 2016. I've had 2 weeks holiday, 2 weeks off, 2 weeks rest, 2 weeks recuperation because I missed the slot for the paint. But good news, I'm inside the car. I'm fitting the sound deadening pads to the car whilst it's this way up. You can see which way up we are with doors facing down. So that what I do, I heat the panels up with a heat gun, get the metal nice and warm, and then let the tar pads go on, and the gravity holds them in place while they cool down, stops them sliding off, because you've got to get them warm for them to stick. Whilst they are sticky back, they need heat as well to create the sort of final bond. A cold metal onto the sticky back, you'll find that they peel off. It might not be straight away, but they do. They'll start to peel at the edges. So this way, heating up the panel, let gravity hold the pads in place. So final preparations, good news, paint, transport tomorrow, 8th of December. So car goes away, so I'm just making sure there's no last bits. I've finished off the transmission tunnel with sound padded that, sound deadened that, and that's all neat now looking factory. So all the repairs that we did, all those brackets, all the welds got cleaned up this side, reprimed, and pads on. Also on the roof, if I bring the light across, you'll see, hold on, where are we? There, you'll see this foam backed stuff. Again, I had the car upside down on its roof, heated the roof up, and this is a sound deadening mat, very similar to Dynamat. It's not Dynamat, it's a foam equivalent. So that's gone on to the roof, so that'll go under the headlining. So a nice foam sound deadening material there. One more door to do at the back, just heat the panel up. Those sound pads are in. Sound pads are in on the other doors, they were done earlier on. I've gone round the car again and again and again. I've spotted a couple more welds that needed grinding down. It's amazing what you see. Gone round again and again, and I've gone round again, and just keep going. You just think it's ready to go, no it's not, it's ready to go, no it's not, there's something else, and you want to get everything nailed so the paint goes over any drill holes, any grommet holes. And whilst I'm on, remind me to cut out the automatic transmission aperture holes for the wiring loom. They've been covered by the deadening pad there, look, we need to get the Stanley knife and cut a square out and peel that back. We'll poke through with a screwdriver the other side where the holes are, and then that'll tell us where they are, and then we overcut round an oval shape so that we don't forget our bulkhead wires. We've got one for the oil pressure gauge, one for the speed sensor, and one for the reverse light and inhibit switch on the gearbox itself. So we've got those. The cruise control bracket, that was done, that fits in, we've got the holes in place for that. We know about the electric aerial, we did that a long time ago, the electric aerial, that was done. Oh, the wing mirror, there's the wing mirror just coming in, the holes for the wing mirrors, swan neck wing mirrors, the forward ones, that's just a second hand one which I use just for testing the holes. It's not the finished article, I've got brand new old stock ones. So those holes went in, and you can see there's an aperture here designed for you to get your socket in and tighten the nuts up for the wing mirror. Position on those was a factory, it was a dealer fit. You got approximate measurements off the Ford instructions. I've just copied straight off Swan Piece doors because I know they're right. They're quite close to the glass. They don't touch the glass, but they are tucked in neat, quite close up to the glass. The neater I could get them into the glass, the better for me. So wing mirrors on, the holes for those, so they'll get nicely painted. Don't want to be drilling holes for the wing mirrors later on. So I'm just going to put the heat gun on that panel at the back. I've got a couple more sound deadening pads left. There's one, it's just a honeycomb design, sticky backed tar felt. We can also, if we want, fit the sound foam on top of this nice smooth surface now if we want. The only thing I'm not sure about with the sound foam is whether it can be overpainted or what effect the paint would have on that when they paint the doors. So normally them tar pads there, you can overpaint them. If I stick over the sound pad, and I think what I'll do is I'll fit the rest of the sound cushioning when the car comes back, so that these get the factory paint over the sound deadening, and then the actual sound cushion pads, whatever you want to call them, they'll be stuck on when I'm trimming the car. Ones on the roof obviously have to be done first because the headline will be on when I get the car back, so that's the reason for that. So we can stick the rest of the sound killing matte, sound deadening matte foam, whatever it is, when we're doing the trim. It doesn't need to be colour coordinated because it's not a factory item, whereas the sound pads are. So if you ever to peel back the sound pads, if you took the car to bits, it'll look factory that they're overpainted because they were overpainted. So then let me just get on and finish that, then I'll put the car level again, go round it again, check, and then get to bed because it's an early start, and then you'll see us roll this out. Sorry that it's been such a long run. It's going to be worth it, as you know. And this November saw no film footage uploaded simply because I had 2 weeks off, and because there's been limited recording going on because there's just been a lot of background work. A lot hasn't happened. When the shell goes out, we're going to jump straight onto the engine, axle and gearbox, and cleaning up parts, chrome, nuts and bolts, get the headlights glass, the proper headlight glass done, all little bits of trim and stuff like that we'll start on. So we'll start getting the workshop will be taken over as a build area for the engine and the mock-up of the gearbox. What I'm going to do, I'm going to put in the workshop, we're going to be building a jig for the engine and gearbox all as one, and I'm going to assemble it on a complete jig. And the idea would be to get the engine running, then take the engine and gearbox to the specialist, and they're going to bolt it all together as one complete assembly, so that I don't have to keep, if something goes wrong with the box, I don't want to be taking it in and out of the car. I want it running on the engine, I want it in the gearbox place so that they face it up to the engine block and they do all the tests there. So they'll have the engine and they'll have the gearbox on a jig with caster wheels, dolly wheels, and I'm going to let the automatic gearbox specialist connect the gearbox up to the engine, and then we're going to spin the engine up, run the engine and listen to the torque converter spin through. We're going to wire it all up as though it was in the car, and then I'm going to satisfy myself that that's the best I'm going to get it, and then I can drop the car onto the engine and box as one operation. That's the plan. So we'll be jumping straight to that in this film. We'll be making up for the lost time. We'll get an hour's worth of footage out of this film. Let me do this pad now then, let's keep moving. You'll be seeing the transport pickup very shortly.
on this one now. Right up to this.
Blooming heck, Dave. We have to stop cutting these cars up. I only get the back bits. Well, Dave's brought this for me. Go on my wall. What about the boot lid? They're not going to get thrown in the price. It all depends on cost, doesn't it? It's all down to price, David. Another one for the wall.
That were already listed as well.
Boot lid's like 10 quid. Who wants a boot lid? Well, took its time, Dave, but we got here in the end. We're trying to get this out to this body shop now. I can't believe it. Finally get it out of here. Well, you're on YouTube as well, Dave.
I'm always on YouTube.
You're on Yocho. He's on Yocho. Get that hook onto there and we'll get this bad boy a pop out down to the paint shop. Don't you worry about that. We've got plans for this car. Big plans for this car. We'll hook up and let's well, promise you we'll get it in part 24. Are you having a good time so far? Dave's not really as enthusiastic as me. He just gets on and does the job. Whereas I get all excited, Dave just gets on and does the job. He's so used to this, but he's always breaking the cars. I'm always making the cars. Dave's always breaking them. We know he saves spares, Dave, but still, even so, I don't think that's enough to excuse your behaviour with Cortina. He lines it up. Oh, that's the tagline, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll need that, Dave, to get the rubber tyres off. Dave and his high-tech sat nav that he loves. Finally get this car out of here.
Go straight on then.
Take a right.
Right?
Yep, right then a left. Car to the plumbing paint shop. Finally loaded and finally en route. All part of part 24, the new YouTube film. Keeping the parts updated. Then we can get back to the workshop and start some engine and axle builds. We'll drop off now. We're arriving shortly. We're only about 15 minutes drive from the unit. We'll get there shortly. Juju. Yeah, I'm on the way to you now. We're just at Scaresbury. How's that sound? Okay, we'll see you in a minute. Bye. Bye. Yeah, we're all arrived, we've all got the car in, that's great. We can close that up now for the boys to start the paint. So we're in, unloaded, at Juju Central, ready to rock. So we'll get back to base now, drop the car off, let's go. We're all done, dropped off at the paint shop. We're all ready to go into the main unit, just in the holding area now. As soon as that BMW's out, we're rolling in. Little newts on the wing there. Gary's not far behind. Come on, Gary. Really like to get this car painted. So we're all excited. We really are. Okay, back in the Mondeo, dropped off the shell. You just saw it safely stowed away there, waiting to go into the shop. So we're back on with no car to work on now, so we've got loads of bits to work on. So we switch back now, we switch back to building up the parts like the engine, getting the gearbox sorted with the specialist, cleaning up the axle, and getting all the trim bits lined up and ready, and just making sure everything's on the floor and ready to go. We've got a galvanising mission to do. There goes a Triumph Stag, did you see that? In silver Stratos. So it's all little bits. We'll go back to the workshop and clean up and get a clear space on the floor, and let's go and assess what we've got left to do, finish off this part 24. Okay, so back to the workshop and no car, and the New Year's Eve party. No, not quite New Year's Eve yet. Looks like we've had a party in here, doesn't it? Sort of everyone get out, get the car out and just abandon the place and leave. That's what it looks like's happened. Just evacuate, get the car out. So parts all over the place, mess all over the place, tools all over the place, because we legged it to get that shell out. So now the first job, clean state of mind, clean floor. So box all the tools up, stick everything away, clean everything up, and then we'll start on our next job, which is going to be, we're straight into it, still on part 24, straight into it. What I'd like to do is, see that cradle there, how that holds the engine? We're going to simulate that with some box section, and then place the engine block and the gearbox in a cradle. So we're going to make, let's take you down, we're going to make that angle there with box, using the engine rubbers. Then we'll have two box section runners that'll pick up the gearbox at the back, and then the whole assembly goes on 4 caster wheels. So what we'd do is, when the engine's built, we'd place it on this jig. We'd have a bracket at the front here for the radiator, something to hold the battery, similar to what Swampy did, but an improvement on the Swampy engine jig. This will be an all-in-one unit. So engine and gearbox on a dolly system, with the radiator at the front so that it can fire up. And then the idea of that is, when the engine's built, when Carl's done the engine, we shall be firing it up, and then we want to make the gearbox all obviously cleaned. I've got a refurbed gearbox, so just needs a clean down, but it's a rebuilt gearbox that I got off eBay. So that'll go on, swap the bell housing across. Then this unit will hopefully go in the back of my car, take it to the gearbox specialist, and then ask him what he thinks about connecting the box up to the Pinto using that flex plate that I've got. I don't know if I mentioned it, but I managed to secure a flex plate for it. So, but I want to take the whole assembly away and let the gearbox guy say, right, okay, flex plate fits on there like that, this bolt goes onto there, torque converter fits in, check it all out for me and make sure it's mated to the engine as it should be. Once it's mated to the engine, I'll bolt it all up properly, then that engine and box is one complete unit, staying together, staying as one piece. And then we can carry on putting the ancillaries on the engine. If there's any other bits we've missed off, we should have most of it on if it's been running anyway. That would then conclude the engine and box, so that would be put to one side for when the shell comes back. So once that bit's done, we'd be looking at cleaning up the back axle. I'm not going to open the axle up, I'm going to leave the axle closed. I believe it's a good axle, so we're going to clean it and get a good coat of paint on the axle. Then we'll do the brakes and refurb all those. The prop shaft will need cutting down. There's our prop, so that will need cutting down to suit the longer tail housing or longer gearbox of the A4 LD. So we'll go to Northwest Prop Shafts to get that done, making sure we've got the measurements right. We'll double check, and we can always check measurements on other chassis that we've got. First job though is to clean up the workshop. Let me do that now. You'll see a clean unit in a minute. Hey guys, before I put all the tools away, I thought why not show you my pick of the essential tools for what the job I've just got done so far. So I'm gonna, just as I'm going putting everything in the boxes, I thought why not talk about, as it's going away, essential tools for the job. Well, I can't live without a good angle grinder, that 4-inch there, with slitting discs. They're great for doing all your cutting work. You've got to be careful with those slitting discs because they can take your fingers off, so make sure you're pretty confident with an angle grinder. But that's a Makita, they last forever. I've got another Makita here, a smaller one. I think this is 4.5 and that's a 4. I've got two. That Makita there I've had since 1993 and it's still going after all them years. They're built really well, the Makita, so Makita angle grinder is what you need, or at least up at that quality anyway. Then for the angle grinder, what do I use? As I say, the slitting discs. Alright, they are for cutting through sheet steel. You can also cut box section and make things with those. Another essential item that I use is the flap wheel. This one's for the 4.5, I think. Yeah, it's for the 4.5. That's just like a sandpaper wheel. You put that on the angle grinder. That's great for cleaning down welds. It really buzzes the welds down fast. You might have seen me using the belt sander, but if you can get in, always go in with your flat wheel. It's not as aggressive as an angle grinding disc, which is just here. These can cut through your metal, but they've got applications as well. Let's move on to something else. Good quality mole grips are also great. These are Hanson grips, adjustable grips, quick release. Can't do without a decent set of automatic ones. An adjustable tensioner underneath there gives it a fully automatic operation, red lever to release. Great for clipping the edge of panels, general just assembly work, bits and bobs, they're good. Also a set of mole grips. They're a similar operation but with a screw thread at the end. So a good set of mole grips, good set of tin snips you need for cutting out your shapes. There's another tool that can't live without. This is the die grinder, air powered die grinder. Great for getting in little holes in little corners. I did the windscreen corner clean up with this, but you can get in all sorts. You can change the heads for different shapes, and you can get in and clean out welds. You can buzz welds down with them. You can just do all sorts with a die grinder. That requires air pressure though. Pop that back up. Having a look round, steel rule handy. The engineer's rule there. Metal file there. What else we got on the board? I think that's it. On the board always have a good section of spanners, 10s and 13s and 17s, always handy on the Cortina. An angled screwdriver there that I made, that's for popping off trim clip. Decent size, correct fitting Phillips and crosshead screwdrivers for your door hinges, also for your door hinge screw bolts. Impact drivers sometimes needed. There's some other die grinding tips, see the different shapes. So can't live without those tools. Good air compressor, a good inspection lamp. This is a rechargeable, this is a Sealy rechargeable magnetic. Great piece of kit, that one, magnetic base, and then a 360 swiveling head. Can't live without the good quality rechargeable LED torch, so you need one of them. How about a 3M filter mask with a very good quality perspex on there, high impact resistant perspex, scratch resistant perspex front, cartridge filters on the side, great for when the welding fumes or when you're doing Gravitex or any other paint job. Stops that flecking into your eyes. With your normal fly mask, you've got to make sure your eyes are protected because your eyes will absorb the chemicals as well through your eyeball itself. So a good quality mask. They're not cheap, they're about 60 quid. Well worth it though. In this little box here, and an assortment of spare flap discs. Here's the belt sander, we'll talk about that in a sec. Other cutting discs in that little tub, I just keep them in buckets. Ear defenders, you've got to have ear defenders.
Your ears will get wrecked if you're doing all these angle grinding jobs, so always have your ear defenders on. I always do. You cannot replace your eyes or your ears. Okay, over to the little rack over here. There's the belt sander. This was just an off-the-shelf 40 quidder from B&Q. Now I knew I was going to give it some stick. It's still going, but I think the build quality on these isn't the best. This is Mac. No, it's just a cheapo, but it's done. It's got us through, and it's still going. So we'll wait to see how long that lasts before it dies. But I'd recommend a decent manufacturer of this. Perhaps I don't know who does them. Sealy might do them. Teng might do them. Makita probably is the best. So a good powered file. Couldn't live without that. That's an essential tool. There's the belts for it. Totally essential tools there. Just having a scrape around. Obviously a weld is needed and a good welding mask. This welding mask here is an automatic one. Solar recharges and cuts in with your adjustment on the side for the point at which it cuts in and the darkness level. So a good quality welding mask. A welding hood as well to protect your neck. That's a non-flammable material. You stick that over, that stops flashes round the side of the mask that can bounce off walls. If you've got a lot of white walls like I have, a lot of people put black panelling up. This just stops flashes and also sparks down your neck. There's the welder itself, a Super MIG. A Sealy again, that's a 195, that's done me proud. You can run on a smaller ampage. Open for suggestion on welders. I'm not going to necessarily say this is the only way to go. It's down to personal taste on welders. Just get a decent, half decent make. But this has not done me any problems. It's worked quite well. An oxyacetylene kit over there is another essential item if you're doing your braze finishes or any brazing work, which you need if you're doing a factory finish on the Cortina. So good, what's called a porta pack, oxy and acetylene there, and a good quality torch connection there. So let's go and have a look at something else. That's a good quality lance. Let's go check something else out. Okay, and air tools, what we got, that's a handy little unit. That's a little mini orbital sander. They're great with the Velcro pads. Your sanding disc stick on, superb for doing your body filling. Couldn't live without one of those. I don't go big on body filling, by the way. I just do the first sort of skim if I'm blending in panels. Here's another great tool, air nibbler. Fantastic for cutting out shapes in metal. You go round like that and nibble. Really good. So an air nibbler. Cut-off tool, another handy tool. Gets in where the angle grinder can struggle to get in. Air powered, of course, is the air power box. So side cut-off tool, really good. What else do we use? Here's a good tool. This was hole punch and a joggler. So a step joggler there for doing panel edges, for joining two panels together. That's really handy. And then it comes with a punch as well, so you can plug weld. So the idea is you step the edge of your metal, and then you step both faces and they slot together, and then you punch those holes there with it, press the lever, and then you plug weld the holes up, join two panels together. Here's my original air power sander. Good, but I couldn't get the belts for it, so that's a good little unit if I could find someone who supplies the belts. But that's similar to the electric one. It's just that my compressor had gone noisy and I'd stopped using this and I couldn't get the belts. So compressor's now been replaced. Okay, so there's air tools. Some good quick release grips. Clamp grips there. They're automatic ones. They do self-tension and lock on. They're great and handy. And some various different G-clamps and stuff like that. And that's about all that I use that I can think of at the moment. Selection of different screwdrivers there. A G-clamp there for various things. Henry the Hoover, he's good. He's just outside. Henry's coming in a minute. Oh, we've got a parts tumbler, which we've not demonstrated yet. I'll demo that later on. That's a new addition to the family. We'll show you that in action soon. A parts tumbling device. Oh, spot welder. Forgot the spot welder. I'm going to just run you through my spot welder now. That's my new compressor, which runs really well. Beautiful little unit. SWP, an SWP Zephyr compressor. Nice twin piston unit, pretty quiet running, lightweight, easy to move around, can go from workshop to workshop. and it seems to power all the tools nicely. Good big powerful fan on the back. £285 that one was. A nice quiet little running compressor that. Quite impressed with the performance on it. Runs in, delivers all the power to the tools. I didn't see it drop out, so that's done me pretty good. Little I think it's 100 litre. I should know that, shouldn't I? And here's the spot welder. I've got a various different sets of probes. These are just the standard set, short range, but that's a Sealy spot welder. It's an SR12 there. Oh wow, what a great piece of kit. You've seen that in action. It's just so handy for doing good quality finished repairs. I wouldn't like to be doing a restoration without one of these. So that's a nice Sealy spot welder. On top you'll see, oh, these are 10 tools. Pliers, long nose pliers, grip long nose pliers, absolutely great. I couldn't live without these either. There's so many uses for these. Here's the front panel on the Sealy. Well, basically it's just a timer. All that does is set the duration of which the current flows into the device. It doesn't actually control the power as such, more the time scale. The unit just plugs in the front, switch on, and that's it. That's just a timer box that runs the timing interval on the spot welder, which basically controls the strength of the weld. So another great piece of kit. There, we're going to take that across to stores now because we're finished with that for a while. Alright, all cleaned up. It's nice when you get the hoover out and brush down and just get all your stuff away. So you've got a clean slate to work from, and we've got a bit of wall art there, sculpture on the wall. Poor JTC didn't make it. Dave broke that car before I could get to it. I was on my holidays at the time when this was listed, and it was a local car. I missed out. And looking at JTC, he wasn't that bad, because I can just tell the condition of the upper rear valance there. Complete intact panel, and the bumper out, chassis outrigger there, not outrigger, but the tail end of the chassis still complete and solid, whereas they're normally gone if it's a really rotten car. Lower valance, well, that's just normal even on reasonably solid cars for that to rot through. And that lovely brown colour finish paint, copper bronze, or is it tawny brown metallic? I don't know. I think it's tawny brown. What a lovely machine, lovely colour. And look, even we know it wasn't that bad, because your outer lower panels are intact and original. That's a complete quarter in one piece. Hasn't even rotted through. And the boot tub was intact as well. You hadn't holed the boot tub, and you just know that if it hasn't got that far, that the car was a saver. In my opinion, it was a saver. Starting to do what it would do and rot through that, but it hadn't made it, which probably means that the chassis all the way down, I bet you any money, was in good order. I bet you the bulkhead was good. I bet you the inner wings were good. I'm going to bet any money on that. That car shouldn't have been broke. But I couldn't get to it in time. Best I could do was buy some bits, including the back end. I'll put the boot lid on that and an old bumper. I'm going to make that into a wall sculpture. I've got a few more at home, same. It's a shame that on a K as well. What a waste. Total waste. Dave, you're a bad man. Bad man. But what can I say? One bid on it and it was only Dave. It would have been two, but I was away. So, end of the day for me. A clean up, ready for a fresh start, ready to build that engine and gearbox dolly. Nice clean start for next week. So everything all just filed away. So we'll call it a day there. I don't know if part 24 is going to end here. I don't know, because people are wanting to get that uploaded, but I'm trying to give you footage, you see. So maybe I'll just do that dolly for you, then we'll wrap it up for 24 and we'll see you in the new year. We'll keep on going with the rest of the bits. But I must admit, I've struggled for footage for you for this part. It's just been minor jobs, but I'll keep on. We'll keep on. High octane bit's going to calm down for a little while. See what the next part brings. Over and out for this section. See you in a bit. Alright, we're on, we're flying to the workshop. Got an axle in the back, have a look. So I picked the axle up, we're going to get that cleaned up. We're going to build that engine and gearbox jig now, so I'm flying in. The pressure's on, we're flying on. Don't you worry about that, we're going to keep the pressure on even though that shell's away. You've got to find the strength, you've got to keep going. So let's find the strength and let's keep going, let's get the car done. Right, a clear space, let's just get blitzing into this. I'll put the throttle on a little bit more, car's away as you know. There's our wall art as you know. We're back again from last night. Axle in the back of the Mondeo ready to be shot blasted. We're not going to take the axle to bits, we're going to just seal it all up and soda blast it. I'm going to try it on the car. If it's noisy it comes off and gets redone. It's not too bad to do an axle. I'm not taking it to bits after last time. So right, parts tumbler, I was showing you the parts tumbler. Look, you feel this with this media stuff and it shakes all your bits up. Shakes all your bits so your bolts come out like this, nice and clean. That helps them with the galvanising, that gives them an extra good galv. You can just take them straight in rough to the galvanisers, but the galvanisers always ask you, can you get all the paint and bits off? So this tumbler shakes like crazy and just can throw everything in there and it just gets the worst of it off. Now, different mediums you can use. I'm just working on a coarse granite, but it's expensive, the media, but I've just used granite and that works just as good. So little parts tumbler, so we'll be cleaning these up and put them in the box. We'll run them through here, leave that running for about 3 hours and it just takes all the edge off your bolts. Get some nice, look, see what I mean? They're coming out good. Alright, so parts tumbler. Nice clear space here, let's keep moving. You'll notice the camera's not quite as good quality as my old camera, so I'll be changing this. This was a good little buy. It's alright in very bright sunlight, but it's a little bit grainy, so you'll see that go back to high quality in the next few videos. Don't worry about it, it's better than no footage at all. So, going to lay out some box section now. Name of the game is to recreate this clip angle so that we can mount the engine, and then we'll have bars. We're not going to use the clip, we're going to make this in box section. Let's get the gearbox and the block. Well, the block's still over there, so we can just put that into the middle of the floor. We'll get the gearbox in and then work out our spacings. I haven't got any dolly wheels yet, but we'll build the frame on the floor and then we'll get some dolly wheels from Machine Mart, okay? So bring in some box section now and bring in the gearbox and bell housing. Here we go. Okay, so here we are. Have a look on the floor there for our gearbox and our engine block. I'm just looking at the screen, making sure I can see what the hell I'm doing. We're on the selfie stick, going down. So come across, have a little look what we're going. Down we go. Brought that in on the dolly. Don't try lifting these on your own. Put them on a little dolly. Wheel it in. Engine block just in front of it there. Trying to keep your camera straight all the time. Engine block just in front. And box section just here. Let's have a look at some box section. So we're going to use that box section. I'm going to build a nice frame. What's the point of doing it? Well, as I explained, spin this gearbox round, have a little look-see at the A4 box. Let me just learn how to use a selfie stick. Sorry about this. Adjust my screen so I can see what I'm filming. Coming round. Whoa! And we go upside down. Cool. Okay, back on front vision there. So what we're going to do, why we're going to do it, we're going to do it so that the gearbox specialist can mate all the torque converter and everything up to the block. I don't want to do it underneath the car. I don't want to take the car to a gearbox specialist when it's built. I want them to do it right now. I want us to get this casing clean. Now, That's the bell housing we're using, but it's not the gearbox we're using. I bought a Recon unit. This was just to help us mock up. We'll be using the tail piece off it because that has the 2 outlets that we need for speedo, mechanical speedo, and for the vehicle speed sensor for the cruise control. So we need this piece, we don't need that piece, and we need this piece, and we need the torque converter over there, which has got the overdrive lock-up clutch. So bits and bobs are all needed from all the parts I've been acquiring to get what we want. The first job is to build a cradle to hold the block and the gearbox in one piece. It'll go on dolly wheels, as I said. So I'll bolt the engine block just with 4 bolts to the bell housing. Then I'll get me engine mounts, bolt them on there, and then I'll make angles with the box section. I'm going to use the disc cutter, the slit 4.5 inch slit cutter, to make our angles on the box section. It's not going to be a work of art, it's not going to be precision engineering, but it's going to be tough enough to hold the box on the rubber mounts there. And that means that we'll have the radiator fittings and everything for the front, so we can actually fire the engine up with the gearbox attached. And I'll take that then to the gearbox guys and say, look, how do I make sure this is going to be bang on right? Okay, so first job is to start measuring up and start cutting our box section. We'll do that now. Doing good. Got it. Hang on, let me turn the radio off. Right, that's a frame in place and welded up. I'm just making the back bracket now for the gearbox to hold on to. We're using a Capri back mount, it's the same. Don't worry about that. That gearbox mount rubber there's the same. So we've got a little frame built up, just a couple more welds to go on.
This frame here just fits underneath the cross member. Some captive bolts are fitted inside the ends of it, welded inside captive bolts, so we can bolt the cross member on. That then sits on the frame here, pull back for you, so we can support the gearbox. We want to get that nice and central, finish the rest of those welds. Then off of that front end up, then we've just got to build some mounts for the front, and then we're done. Then it just needs to go on the casters, build a mount for the radiator and a battery tray, so we can keep it fully portable. The idea is there'll be a battery, starter motor, water on board, fully functioning engine, exhaust will come out onto a tube. So I'll just, a few more welds on there now, and then I'll get that gearbox straddled across the frame, then we can work out where the front cross member pieces do to pick up on the engine. Let's do that next. Okay, so we're nearly done. I'll just jumped you ahead. I'll show you what we've done now. So we built that square frame, you saw us welding the square frame up. And then we have these verticals here on an angle to hold the rubber mount. So you see the engine's in there. So just two verticals, and then just got that angle, copied the angle across, welded up. Same for this side. So that supports the engine at the front, and we're welded in down the bottom. So that supports the front end of the engine, and it's nice and solid. Round we go, so the back just sits on that platform using the cross member mount on another rubber isolator there, bolted on with the original fitting underneath, which gives us a very sturdy setup. So that enables us to build the engine and the gearbox and spin everything up. We should get an output on the gearbox, and we can let the gearbox boys fit that, and then it's done. It's mated up and finished. Doesn't need to be done under the car. So the whole assembly inferior will get tested. We'll be able to check through the gears, I hope, obviously not at high speeds and with no load on it, of course, but I think it's going to be an advantage for me to have this. So we need to fit some casters. I think 2 wheelbarrow wheels at the back, 2 casters at the front, and then the frame that I built for the radiator, that'll have a handle on it. We can lift up and tilt it, and then be able to hopefully lift from the back and just move it around and get it in off and on ramps and stuff like that, and across gravel if we had to. You'd lift the front, and then the wheelbarrow wheels will help you go across any rough surfaces if indeed that happens. Also, having wheelbarrow wheels at the back will stabilise it a bit, give it a little bit more cushion. Or you could do the handle at the back and have the wheelbarrow wheels at the front. We'll have to decide on how we do that. But that will also stop it vibrating around. It could move on the casters. With the wheelbarrow wheels, it will give it more stability on the ground. I think that's what I'll do. I might have casters. I might have a combo, an axle with, you can put wheelbarrow wheels on the back, or you can drop it on its casters. I might do that. So I'll have a little stub at the back to carry the wheelbarrow wheels, and when you pull them off, it will land on the casters, similar to Swampy's dolly, or the Cortina dolly that I built that you saw carrying the car to the paint shop. So there we have it, a nice little few hours work to build a jig. It can always be used in the future. This jig will only suit an A4LD setup, but you could quite easily move that bracket at the back, or simply have a bolt-on unit, make that bolt-on at the back, so that if you wanted to adapt it to use on a Type 9, then it would also work. So at the moment, as we stand, we've got that fitted. I'm going to have a little tidy up now. I'll hoover up, because you soon get messy, as we've said. But a good little few hours there to build that. I've got it as central and as square as I can. It's not an engineering tolerance masterpiece by any means. It's certainly not going to break, and it'll certainly do what I want it to do. I got the engine and the gearbox as central as I could. It looks all central. So it looks square and neat, I think. Just giving you some more interesting footage to fill out part 24. There's no reason not to film things like this, because it's all part of the build, and it keeps things interesting as well. And because obviously two months in the paint shop, we're going to be calling in there and see how they're getting on, but it's going to be away for 2 months as they prep and paint that car.
So we've got to have things to do in the meantime that are interesting, and keep you glued to the screen. So there you go. I'll move on to another job. I'll clean up first. That'll be it for today. I'll think of something else to do soon. We'll get the rest of this built next week with the casters on it. Over and out for today. Right, we're carrying on. We're doing good with the frame. I've got the radiator front mount on. We just measured that up on the factory rad, which is just over there. A lovely new old stock rad with the radiator cooling points on. Brand new rad. I'm going sticking standard with the radiator cooler built in. I know that people say they fail, but on a new rad I don't expect that to happen. So frame on there, looking good, all mounted up. We've got some caster wheels in now, so we're going to build some little mini stubs just to go outboard. We're going to make sure we can fit out the door of the workshop as well. So we're going to fit these. They're going to ride like that. These got little brakes on as well, so we can brake the unit. So we weld these to the stubs and jack the back up, and then line the stubs up, then make sure that it sits level on the ground. So we'll just set the level so it's not rocking. So when you put your wheels on, you want to just make sure that, because it's not precision, you might have to just go up or down a little bit. So we'll make sure we're on some level ground, and we'll get all four casters sitting nice. And then there's some stabiliser bars for the rad support on the back just to stop it wobbling. Then probably a handle to lift the back end up, because we might be fitting these rear rubber wheels as well for getting it over some rough ground. That's an option. Don't know if I'm going to do that yet, but I need a handle just to grab and spin the unit around. So let me just weld up these stubs. Cut two now. I've got another two to cut for the front, and they'll just go on there like that. Okay, so welder on, and we'll get these attached and get everything looking level. Here we go. Looking good. This frame should be ready for some nice silver paint soon. Just getting the rad on there. There's our new old stock rad. See that? Ford, nice. Stickers, we love it. So that rad, clip on some mole grips on the side, G-clamps, welding clamps, whatever you want to call them. Spacing was right on the bar, we measured that out. So we're just going to tack screw that one on. No need to thread out the bolts on this captive nuts. So there's the radiator supports. Makes a nice solid frame. Then there's a couple of side supports just added in onto the end of the engine mounts there. It doesn't quite fit square because they're at an angle to catch the angle of the bracket, but they're tacked on and welded on at the bottom. So that's just a support piece. And then two more support pieces at the back to stabilise the uprights for the gearbox, just to give it some sturdiness. And we think we're good to go. So it's a battery screwdriver out to tack screw these mounting fittings on for the radiator. Once that's screwed in position, see we've got the hose on just to make sure. Now you'll notice this is a right angle elbow radiator, we'll be getting this converted to front pipe output. So just take it to the radiator shop, they're going to clean it, paint it up. Even though it's new old stock, still going to clean and paint it up and fit the correct front outlet pipes. As well as also going to fit a drain cock on the bottom, because I love those for draining the fluids, make life a lot easier. That's the automatic gearbox radiator, and you'll see underneath we've got these fittings there, and they're for the auto cooling. So that's the right one. So we can also connect the cooling pipes and run them down and just mock up our pipes. We fit just here, so we've got two pipes got to run along and pick up there on some flexi hoses, because the engine will be moving independently of the rad, so these two pipes at the bottom will have flexi connectors, and they'll come round down. We've got to make sure we miss the exhaust, that's the only thing. The exhaust is on, so we need to put a cylinder head on and just run where the exhaust goes, so we can get them pipes well clear in the exhaust. We don't want them anywhere near it. Could be that they don't fit that route and we have to go a different route, but we'll see. They're not clipped to the inner wings, they're just going to go and mount themselves on the engine block itself. We're going to make some brackets probably to hold them, and then two flexi pipe outlets at the front. But we'll need to have the alternator and all the ancillaries in place before we do those cooler pipes. But for now we'll fit the rad, just enough room at the top to get the cap on. That top bar, the rad, I've just got it just so it fits in the middle there. Okay, so I'm going to tack screw these on now, these four mounting points for the rad, then take the rad off and then paint the frame, then we're done, I think, for the frame. The only other thing I wasn't sure about is whether to have a handle, but here's going to be the battery tray as well, so we're just going to put a piece of MDF across here. There's no need to have any other supports, just some MDF there for the battery tray. Okay, and that'll hold the battery in place, so we're all one unit. Right, that's the radiator tech screwed on. I've also fitted a handling bar on the front so we can push and pull. Around we go. So handling bar on the front there. Nice and solid, and a safe radiator there, just tech screwed up, ready to do its job when the engine's running. So all I've got to do now, I think that's all the parts welded on. I've cleaned and just softened the edges on the sharp metal with the flat wheel. So it's just going to get some paint now. I'll be able to paint most of it. Just up to them mount rubbers. I don't want to take the engine off just yet. I'm going to paint it with the engine on. Put a couple of blocks, spacer blocks there to level that front for the battery tray when it goes in. Just a piece of MDF most likely for that. So we'll cut a piece of MDF later on and get that screwed in. But for now we'll get some paint so it's going off. Let's do the paint next. Alright, Ram raided the paint shop. We've gone high vis, we've gone industrial. A little bit of paint on there, just masked and sprayed over some high vis lines, just to brighten it up a bit of fun, bit of industrial fun. We're going to go over and get them to start handballing out the parts out the tumbler. You saw it just running there. So I just sift out now, bit by bit, all the parts, and then put the next batch in, and then get them ready for our trip to the galvanisers, because we're going to combine a Manchester trip with Warren at the engine shop and Brinksway for the galvanising for the gold passivate. So I'll start sifting through all these bits, make sure each one's clean, individually check each part and just check it and start putting it into the parts bucket. So not much I can do on the truck, on the dolly. We're good to go. So just had the radiator fitted. There's some radiator mount holes just at the back. The radiator mount holes they're in. So really this engine wants to go and get the small block built, or the short block done, get the short block done. I don't know much about engines, but that goes away. All the parts for this, the crank and the pistons, everything are in the boot of the Mondeo. Bell housing will be coming off and getting blasted. I can separate that off and blast it so it's nice and silver. It won't be getting painted, it'll be staying in aluminium finish, but with a lacquer on it, just to stop it tarnishing, a clear lacquer, a high quality lacquer. The tail housing, we can shot blast that as well, because that separates and breaks down. That just leaves the centre section, but because it's not this actual gearbox, we'll see what our Recon gearbox body looks like. It might be that they've cleaned it up. They should have done it. Looked clean in the pictures. So that would make all that nice and universal. The Granada cross member, I'll be getting that powder coated as well, so that makes that nice and clean. So we're running for that. We've got the axle in the back of the car. That needs to come into here to be stripped down prior to it getting soda blasted. We're going to leave the half shafts in and the brake backing plates on. We're just going to take off the copper brake lines off the back so the powder coat shot blaster can get the shot blaster in and it doesn't shadow it with a copper pipe. Alright, so jobs are on, we're full on throttle. We'll keep it on going. I'm going to start handballing out some parts and laying them out into a bucket now. Here we go for the parts tumbler for zinc passivate. Right, I'm just in the tumbler and I'm just handballing out the parts. They come out a bit dusty, but we're sticking them in just a bit of degreaser just to wash it down, and degreaser is quite neutral on this. When they go into the galv, they get another treatment anyway, but that just enables me to see where I'm up to, see if there's any paint or anything left on them. But I don't think there will be. So I'll carry on just picking all the parts out and washing them down in here, so I can see what the state of play is, and then we'll dry those off. Then they go into another cleaning material, cleaning liquid at the galvanizers. But this just got off the paint and the underseal, because the galvanizers don't always catch everything, and you can end up with parts that's sort of half galved, you know. But this media has took everything off. These are all rusty, these bolts, when they went in. So I'll carry on doing that. It's a bit boring, so I won't film this bit. So we'll just film when we've got a nice set of parts laid out on the on some cloths there drying down. Okay. Right, next batch going in. You'll see these are all sort of rough and not the best. Hey, by the way, don't worry about the camera. We're on with another one. This one was just a backup. A little bit grainy, as you can notice. It'll only be for this film. The next film we'll be back on with the other Panasonic, another Panasonic that I get. Okay, let me put these in. You'll see that they're a bit grubby, but they'll clean up once they've been in. Here we go. Just so you can see the tumbler go. Watch this. Okay, so you see how it just draws everything in. I've even got the handbrake, the bonnet release cable in there, because that was mucky. I want that to have a nice gal finish. Some have a PVC sheathing, others don't, so this one hasn't. So it's starting to take those up now. That was covered in silver paint, if you recall. It's already started to take that off. So there's some brackets and things. It needs a few hours though to do it. As I say, you can get the ceramic media. I've got a mixture of ceramic and granite in here.
So we're looking good with that little mix. Let's get that running again. Alright, we've been running for about half an hour now. I just put a little touch of degreaser in here and just a little touch of thinners. Now thinners you normally wouldn't put in, alright, because it's a plastic container, but it was only sort of a couple of capfuls in a little cup, about how much, hardly any, because I'm very wary of the thinners attacking the plastics, but it's only a little touch. That's what, simply because some of the items did have paint on, and just a little bit of thinners will take off any paint traces, overspray and stuff. And we'll see, we're going to have a look now. Most of the stuff that went in here was pretty rough, so we're going to see what we're like. We're going to pull some items out. There's an item now, and I can see straight away. Let's get the cloth. This was rusty. This was pretty bad piece of kit. This is I think it's one of the exhaust brackets underneath, one of the mounting brackets that goes under the car. You can see straight away it's took all the rust off, all the debris off, and if we just give it a wipe, we can see nicely. You can see the logo there now, and even the part numbers come up. Didn't spot that before, 71 BB. So look what that unit does. That really doesn't need to be in there anymore. Now we're wary about the threads, okay, because you've got stones banging about, and you don't want to. Whoops! There goes my light. Hold on. Let's just plug the light back up on its magnet. There we go. So watch out for any thread damage. Now I'm going to look in on this. Hold on. Bring you in. Let that focus, hold on. So, best I'm going to get you, I'm afraid. No damage on that thread. Well, eventually I suppose you would deburr, because they do a deburring process, these units. So we want to make sure we don't do any thread damage, but they look all alright. I'll test that with a bolt, but I'm sure that's okay. So there's a nice part, completely finished. That'll galvanise really well. Took out the very rusty, or was very rusty, bonnet release cable. It's now a nice, really clean, let's bring it under the light, very clean bonnet release cable. A nice silver finish to it. There's some grease on there, but that's got no rust traces on it, and it's brought it up really well. That was all rusted at the end, so it shows you that you can get parts that look like they're no good anymore, put them in this machine, and you're getting some really great results. Let's have another lucky dip. We got lucky dip, everybody. Bolts. Let's try a typical bolt. Let's try a typical bolt. So it's nice and long. There we go. Let's have a look at this. So clean on the shaft and nice on the end. There we are. Can you see the detail on that? So that's brought that bolt up nice. I can read the code. There's some little bits of grit between the letters, but the galv will probably finish that off. But you can see, look, that was a rusty bolt when that went in. Yeah, it's focusing now. This camera's nowhere near as good as my other camera, by the way. Focus on it, it's very variable. It tends to drift a lot. Now let's get one of these. Where's these ones? These are the bad ones. These look like they weren't going to be savable. Let me rub that down, and you can find that's really good. That was really rusty, horrible colour, that heater mount bracket, but that's going to look good. Very good indeed. So the machine is working really well, faster than I thought, because it's not been, I mean, they have in the instructions say you can leave it like running for 5 hours, you know, but I'm nowhere near going to be that. I know that one was bad. Yeah, that's only just went in later on. This one, that's got a bit more work to go on it yet. You can see that it's got sort of underseal and tar on that bolt, and that's what the Galv struggles with. It tends to struggle with paint residue and traces of underseal, although I must admit that's brushing off with just my hand quite easily. These go in another tumbler at the galvanizer with some chemicals which will again clean them, but I'm just giving them an advantage and helping them along the way so that I get better results on my Galv finish. So it looks like this camera can only focus when I'm pulled right back, so we'll get right back for you. Sorry about the focusing, but as I said, we'll fix that camera situation on the next film. I just want to get this film done before I do anything. That was rusty. That was really bad, that one. And that's looking good. You can see that it's actually attacked the rivet there, the aluminium rivet. There was 2 rivets in this, one's gone, so it's broke the rivet down. So you can see that the hammering action's working, because it's managed to hammer out that rivet there, or erode the head, and that head's on its way out too. So we can see that it's look, we've got a part number coming up on that, I think, have we? No, not on that one. Again there, that was bad. Really nice. I'm very impressed. I do like this machine. I am very impressed indeed. These are all grubby, horrible parts, all mucky, all grubby, and now they're really presentable. You can just wipe these down, wash them down in some more degreaser. That was pretty bad. Really impressed. Well made up. Look at that already. I mean, I'm just bringing these to the surface for you. And look, we've got a collection of really clean metal. What was originally all looking horrible. And a pile of clean bolts with just some degreaser. So let's show you what I used. Comma Hyper Clean, and then just some standard thinner. Now it's a bit unorthodox, and people might be writing in and say, oh, well, you shouldn't do that, and you've got this wrong media. But if it works, it works. I've got granite, just granite stones, because the media for this was like 10 quid a bag for like a 1 kilogram bag, and it would have ended up costing like 50 quid to fill the parts machine. I wasn't paying that, 50 quid for some ceramic, so I've left some of the ceramic in. It only came with 1 bag of ceramic. I thought it was a rip-off price. The machine itself was 148, I think, but the ceramic was just stupid. So I thought, well, let's just try. There's no harm, because if it didn't work, I'd just chuck it out. I tried it first on some parts that I could afford to damage, not these parts, just bits of old metal around the workshop. And I thought, I'll just throw the ceramic in, the granite stones in, and see what happens. And as you can see, they work. They do the job. Now the threads aren't damaged there. I'm looking at them threads. They're not damaged. I'm going to put some bolts on them, but you can tell that's not damaged, that bolt. Look at the striker plates, looking good. One note to make sure you do: don't leave the rubber block. If you're putting in the striker plates, don't leave the rubber block on, because it smashes the rubber block to pieces. Luckily I only did one, and it took the rubber block off it. That's the striker plate rubber. So make sure you unscrew them. Now those screws there, they're very difficult to get out. You've got to have the exact right crosshead, soak it in penetrating fluid, and slowly work these screws, otherwise they just shear off. So be careful with them screws on your striker plates, and pick a striker plate that's not knackered. Look at that. So that striker plate's scrap. Okay, because it's got a big cut in the post. It's no good, that one, even though it's brought it up lovely. Really nice, and very impressed with that.
So a lot of elbow work saved. You don't have to shot blast. Okay. Right. So what I'll do, I'll start popping these finished articles into the bucket because they're all done. They're looking really nice. So we'll just get the next batch of mucky stuff, which is in here, and we'll get that into here running. Then it's going to do it faster than I thought. So we'll get on with that. You know where we are with the engine jig. That's a beauty, a real beauty. We can move that around anywhere we want. Look, stick your hand on there, and away you go. Fully transportable and really good. It's going to look nice when the engine's running. So we've got the short block to take away to Warren. He's going to build that up for us. And then I've got the cylinder head to go to Nuttall's. We might have a gas flow head on that one. We'll see. Warren's going to give me some advice on just giving it a little tweak. I want to put a touch more power on the top end, on the head. I'm not going to overbore the engine, but it's not a 205 block, and I don't really want to give it any stick. I'm just going to look for just a little tweak of power, just to help with that auto gearbox situation. So we'll be looking at improving the head. Although I'll go and ruin it by not putting a 4-branch exhaust on standard cast, unless I get hold of an RS2000 exhaust manifold. But I like the standard factory look under the bay, you see, so it's a bit awkward like that. But I'll do as much as I can to it. It should really have a 4-branch on though, really. I don't know if anyone's going to be able to persuade me to fit the 4-branch. I know GT's had them, but I'm so just like the exhaust manifold and the plating. I don't know, I'm just awkward. But tweaks on that. And as I say, bell housing will get cleaned up. Tail housing on the gearbox will get cleaned up, and then hopefully that recon box I've got's got a decent body on it. I'm not into painting them silver. I don't like that look. I like them alloy. But if you lacquer the alloy, it stops it giving that. See how that's corroded? There's nothing you could do, that'd go anyway. But you put alloy lacquer on it, and you get a nice finish. I've done it on Swampy, on a few of Swampy's aluminium parts, and it's still holding out good. So we've got that to do. So tomorrow we'll take a trip out to Manchester, and that'll come to the end of part 24 then. You'll see us going up to the engine builders. I'll introduce you to Warren, and he'll drop that off with the rest. I'll drop him the crank and the pistons and the rest of the bits, and he's going to build that short block up for me. I can bring that back then, get the engine engine assembly dolly that spins the engine block round, and we'll get the head on, build that up. In the meantime, while we're doing that, hopefully the gearbox will get sorted. We can then hook up. We can't start the engine till the torque converter's fitted, because you need the mass of the flywheel to start your engine, or at least to make the engine run as it should. It might start without a flywheel, but I wouldn't recommend it. So when the engine comes back, we need to time it so that the gearbox is getting done. Then we take this whole dolly to the gearbox place, wheel it into the guys up there with the engine built, and then he will then, well, actually you could just take him the short block. You wouldn't necessarily have to have the head on it. You could probably connect it all. In fact, it'd be easier if you didn't have the head on and took it to the gearbox place after Warren's built the short end, because the head's a separate job. So I suppose we could do that. It would save weight. He doesn't need the engine to be running. He just wants to mate it properly to the flex plate and the flex plate and the torque converter, and line it all up. So got to get the timing right there. At the same time, I want to be making sure these parts have got up to the galvanisers are in the mix. So for that reason, we'll carry on for another half hour cleaning out our super duper tumbler. So it gets the thumbs up, tumbler gets the thumbs up. Do you want to be unorthodox like me and use a bit of degrease and a tad of thinners? You can drain it off. There's a drain tube there at the bottom, so all the fluid, you leave that open, run it, and it'll drain all the excess off. You can even flush down and wash it all down. So we'll look at that. So we're on a learning curve with that one. On a bit of a learning curve with that one. But it's so far so good on it. Really impressed. Okay, so that's wrapping. It's coming to an end just tomorrow for you. A trip out to Manchester, then we'll wrap for Christmas. Have a good one, and we'll catch you in the new year. But But I won't sign off just yet because we've got the Manchester trip. Let's go see Warren, see how he's doing. We're going to get down there, we're going to see him. Let's go. It's all looking good. I told you when that car goes in for paint that we've got the full workshop to use, you know. We've got everything to use. So we've got room. Okay. We'll catch you tomorrow, but I like progress. I like things moving, and this is moving, which is what I like. Things are moving again. We've been stuck in November. Things are moving again. And there's loads of room to move about and make things and do things. I like that. I was so stuck and cramped with the car. I know it's just enough room in here to do that shell, but it was so cramped, you know, that I've got space to breathe. I can do jobs. Okay, see you tomorrow. This little clip's finishing now. I'm going to clean all them lovely bits up. Pleased to say I'm back on, excuse me, pleased to say I'm back on my old camera. I didn't like the new one, it was too grainy and you saw them focusing problems. Do apologise for that halfway through the film. This camera I've got is still the faulty one, but I give it a bit of a tap. I had nothing to lose, so I belted it and it started working, so we'll run it till it dies. It's a Panasonic DX10, it's a really good pistol grip handheld camera. I'm going to get a second-hand one off eBay, I think. Right, so we'll put a few more bits in for Brinksway platers. They're the boys that are doing the plating. So a nice box of clean goodies coming up, look, see? And I haven't even washed all them down. So the smaller nuts and bolts are in the tub at the moment. And what we're going to do to get them out, we just drop a magnet in it. There's our welding magnet we use. We drop that into the tub and it'll pick up all your nuts, bolts and washers, because trying to pick these out there, it's going to be a bit tricky hand picking them out. So drop the magnet in and they'll all clump together on the magnet. Little tip if you're going to do that. Drop a magnet in, a nice big magnet. It'll stick them up. Very shortly we're going to be heading off to see Carl for the engine. So hold on and bear with us. We'll hit the road. We'll go and see what the engine boys have got. We'll drop the block off. So we'll get the block off here. All we do is stick a jack under the bell housing there with a block of wood, so we can loosen up, and then I'll lift off the engine block. Let me do that now. Purely for fun only, I shouldn't do this, it's naughty. It probably won't even fit, but just for a laugh, a bit of entertainment. It's not going to do any harm, so don't worry. I've just thrown a couple more bolts into the machine, but just for a laugh. An old water pump here, original Ford one to be fair. A good Ford water pump, filthy. You could just wire brush it down. I've just dropped it in the top. I doubt that'll disappear down there. Let's have a laugh. Just entertainment this. Guys, guys, I can't believe it. It's eaten the water pump, that grubby oily water pump. I'm going to stick you on time delay. I'll hold the camera over it and let it run for a couple of minutes, but watch, it's just gobbled it up. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. It's gobbled it. So I'm just rating and rating and rating the tumbler. You would think that that water pump would just sit on the top of the gravel, bounce around and jam the whole thing up, but it doesn't. It disappears off down into the underworld and then just goes round in a circle and tumbles and goes all over the place. You can see the stones getting in and chipping out the muck. Now, yeah, you could have put it in a parts washer. I ain't got a parts washer, but parts washer won't like chisel off little bits of corrosion and stuff. So for 150 or 148, alright, but watch out on the media, because the media is the expensive bit on this. I'm using, from a garden centre, a bag of granite, but I'm carefully watching in case what I'm doing is wrong with using granite on this. So I keep checking and looking at the threads, particularly the threads. It's only really the threads on the bolts that would be a problem. Washers are going to be no problem. The water pump, I'm sure, is going to be fine. So I just didn't want the granite to smash the threads off the bolts, but it doesn't seem to be doing it. Each one I pull out and then put a nut on it, just screws the nut on fine. I've even tried tightening it up to see if it strips a bolt, but it doesn't seem to. So far we're running with the water pump in anyway. I've been running for 10 minutes and that water pump's buried. I'm going to switch it on with the cover off. And by the way, apologies for spending a bit of time on the tumbler, but well, it's interesting to watch. I'm going to switch it on with the lid off and let you time lapse it. You'll see this go fast on the video in a sec. I'll try and keep my hand as steady as I can. I could stick it on the tripod, couldn't I? But my tripod thing's not at hand. It's hypnotic. I can't stop staring at the tumbler. I keep just standing over it. I've wasted 15 minutes already staring at it. Right, let me switch it on. Just over here by the plug. It's dead easy. That's a mains plug. You just press the button. Look. Here we go. What's that plug? Did you like that? Did you get hypnotised? What a great idea. Well, that's only been in 15 minutes, maybe not even that. And we're cooking real nice in our pot, in our cooking pot. Jim, what do you reckon? Gary, any thoughts? Gareth, all you guys out there, see there's those other rivets now disappeared off. There was some rivets on there, it's took them out. Let's just have a little see of that quality of that. There we go. So, I've spent a bit of time with you guys talking about this parts tumbling device, but you can see why I like it. Just because you just get all your mucky stuff off your strip down, just throw it in there, wash it down with some degreaser, then pop them back into the bucket, and things are a lot easier to mess with and look at and just use, and you know, you can see where you're at, you can see where you're up to dead quick. Saves a lot of mess. I mean, it's made no mess. There's a drain tube there, as I said, but it's just clean. Lid on to cut the noise down. As I said, the granite bag, or you can use their media if you're rich. Alright, so back over here, there's the engine block off on a nice piece of MDF. And that just leaves the gearbox on a chock of wood there. Okay, so there's our stand. But I did that battery stand. That's the battery tread plate as well for the just for sticking the car battery on when we fire it up. So I'm ready to put this on a little truck, wheel it to the back of the Mondeo, and off we go to Manchester on a little road trip to see the engine rebuilding guys, and we'll drop them off the crank, the pistons and all the bits, and then we'll head back home, take out the bits out the tumbler and put them all into here, then get ready to then head off again and drop off all the galvanising parts. Once them bolts come back, I can start building the clip up. So there's an old rusty clip over there. Ours is already powder coated. This was just off a facelift actually. We'll get the powder coated clip into the unit on a stand, 2 trestles, or I might even make myself a dedicated stand for building the clip on. I've got box sections spare, so we could always do that for a bit of fun. You know we like welding. And then we'll start building the clip up. We need some shock absorbers, some new springs, bushes and stuff like that. So we need quite a few ancillary items to build the clip. But whilst the galvanising's away, we can't start yet, so we've got to get that galv out first. We can bring the axle in and put that on some stands and start getting the brake bits off it ready for taking the axle for soda blasting. But for now, I'll load up the engine block and I'll head out onto the road. Let's see how Warren's doing. Let's see how Manchester is doing. Let's go and see the Manx. Everton. Right, well, we've been cooking for half an hour now, and remember that experiment, that little, thought we'd just have a little laugh and stick the pump in, and as I said, it just completely swallowed it. I couldn't believe it. So let's pull the bad boy out, and this was just, I mean, I don't need the pump just yet. I've got a couple of spare pumps like this already cleaned up, but just rather than have a mucky pump hanging around, why not just have this clean, stick it in a nice box and have it as a spare. So out it comes. Now, can you remember what that looked like before it went in? I don't know. It was mucky. So on the deck we go. Let's just stick it on a cloth. Let's get a cloth there. Let's have a look. I've got the compressed air line. Now I could wipe this down, but I'll just blast it with the air. Trying to keep the camera central for you. I'm just multitasking. Right, airline on. Let's just give it a little 1-2, buckle my shoe. It's looking nice. There we go. There you go. There you go. There you go. There you go. Now, I am impressed again. I just love the parts cleaning tumbler. This side for a quick clean up. Just not. Okay, there's heavy pitting on that. What was a mucky pump, it's now something you can just wipe down and actually move around without getting all covered in oil and guns, and actually see with the condition of it quite quickly with no fuss. There's not many tools that do that kind of job without making a mess, and what you can just leave unsupervised running, come back to in an hour and find all the grease and grimes gone. So for that reason, I'm giving it another a triple thumbs up. So that little bit of fun we said, just drop the pump in, has actually turned out to be serious. So a quick rinse down in some degrease, another wipe down with a cloth, remove that clip there. Looks like there's no play in that. That could then be lightly blasted and then repainted back in black. I think these are finished in black. The Ford pumps were finished with a kind of very dark black. All black's dark, isn't it? But a dull black finish on these, if I recall correct. Ones that I've seen, a sort of black paint finish to them, almost like an engine block black. Although I do believe I've seen them in silver, but that might be the Quinton Hazel ones. So there you go, Ford 71 HF pump in good order, no play in the bearing. Impeller looks alright, need to just blast out and clean inside there. I mean, I don't think the tumbler would actually really get into this bit. It might do if you left it in long enough, but I'd wire brush that up. The main thing that I wanted it to do was, I think it's still got the gasket on it there. The main thing I wanted it to do was just to get it so it wasn't a greasy mess, and that you could actually just place that there then and handle it, and that's it. So it's done the job. Right, enough of that now. We've over-egged the parts cleaner. We're going to load the block up. Plucked and ready for the pot. Oh, nice looking engine block. Into the back of the car we go. Let's get Warren on the phone now and see if we can find him. Warren?
Yeah?
Yeah, I'll need a postcode, mate.
Yeah, who's that?
Pete Cortina City here.
A bit loud on the phone. Oh, sorry, yeah, it's you, Pete. Yeah, I was miles away. Sorry about
You're
that.
miles away.
I had food on my mind.
Hey, you saved me some, I'm hungry.
Whereabouts are you?
Well, I'm at my base heading to you. That makes me an hour away.
Oh dear.
You're on.
Are you definitely coming today? Yeah.
If it's all right with you.
Yeah, it's fine, yeah. Yeah, we've got a bit of space here for you.
You're on YouTube.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, you're up.
YouTube, yeah.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Oh, great stuff.
Say hello to your followers, you probably get loads. So what's your...
Hello to everybody.
That's it, Warren's on the go now. So what we got, I'll get that typed in a sec, and we'll hit the road. Coming up on our engine builders soon. We're out in the Mondeo with a block in the back, and very close to engine builders now. Let's drop off in a sec. Now with Warren.
This chap in here is great. It's called Elvis.
Elvis,
Yep.
a Mustang.
Yeah, there's Elvis in there. Sounds great.
Right, law.
Yeah, look at that.
Wow,
Rare,
not bad boy.
very rare car. That. It's a Welsh. Tell by the car or seats are slightly different. What it says on the back is Welsh.
So, look at that. Rouse Sport Sierra RS, there we go.
He makes all
So a rare Sierra in stock at Warren's. Warren's got a snap-on jacket, which always is a good sign when you're wearing a snap-on. This is a real cruiser, isn't it?
Oh yes.
Now that's open top motoring. That's lovely.
South African import, straight six.
Even the shifter's similar to a Cortina, isn't it? That surround there, look at that. Very similar. That is very similar to a Cortina. Hang on, let's get it on camera because I'm trying to...
It's got L on it though, hasn't it?
Yeah, but still, the actual design of that T-shift. Cruise-o-matic.
That is automatic.
I do like this machine.
This will be for sale as well.
Do like this.
That's a proper car. Don't like the colour though, just respray it.
That's a real nice cruising machine. In that,
Nice hat there for you.
yeah, look at that. Lovely trilby there.
If you want it, you have it if you want it.
Look at that.
You take it off.
Loaded stuff like this. I have hats like that, you know. Look at this. Don't know, might not. Yeah, it's a bit loose, that one. A bit like me women. Yeah, a bit like me women, a bit loose. Good though. No, we'll leave that on the stand, I think, today. So we're here to unload an engine, young man.
He's one of the many residents that we have.
Ah, no.
About 12.
He's just marking his territory there. More gems. Dave should still have that window. Dave's.
Think of that in the corner.
Oh, hell, some gems around. Only came to drop off an engine, not do all this. Cats know the warmest place.
Standard Vanguard. Needs saving.
Yeah, it needs saving. Don't let Dave get his hands on it, he'll chop it to bits.
The engine will be on it.
A Manchester car.
Yeah, the Smiths in it, can't you?
Yeah, I can see Morrissey in this. If a double-decker bus crashes into us, yeah, I can see Smiths in that. Who are I can? And the DJ, alright. And then the Scorpio. I only came to drop an engine off, not do all this. Help me. I'll end up buying something. Get me out of here before I buy something.
That's what I want your window for this.
Dave should still have that. I told him. Yeah. It's had a smack, hasn't it? Scorpio Granada 24 valve. Standard Vanguard. What else we got, Warren? We've got... There's the double-decker bus at Morrissey. Oh my god, another car.
What's it got
Another
under the
Ford.
bonnet?
Hey, it's got a Cosworth under the bonnet.
Oh, no. Rover V8.
A Rover V8. Well, they're a good engine. Probably the best engine ever made, the Rover V8. For conversions. Such a good design, isn't it, that engine?
Yeah, I put it in.
Here's one we did earlier. Fits in nice, doesn't it?
That's for sale as well.
Lovely. It's a very, very good all-round engine. And I don't know nothing about engines. Fuck all. It's a toy. Because of course you didn't like the way I knocked them out, did you? That's because I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. That's one thing I will admit, I don't really do engines, mate.
Right.
It just doesn't work in my brain, it seems to freeze. I can do all sorts, but when it comes to engines, I could probably get into it, I just like to leave it to the experts.
Yeah. That's all standard stuff. All original.
So Warren's just having a look through what we've got. I hope I ain't missed anything. I don't need any of the sprocket pulleys or anything. That's the main thing.
I've got plenty of these engines in anyway in the back of the van in the yard.
Alright.
To show you.
So it's got the right engine number as well.
2 litre. Yeah, that's an original Cortina block.
Yeah, that's what I like about it.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I can do that.
Great. I'll leave that with you. So we're gonna fly off.
Okay.
So you made it onto you're on YouTube, Warren.
Great stuff.
He's always on YouTube.
If anybody
Right?
there wants an engine rebuilding, let me know.
Warren's the man. He's Manchester based, but we're going to be seeing more of him anyway.
Anything to do
But
with 4
he's always on. You're on YouTube. You're on YouTube, and this is where.
mileage?
There we go. There.
Why did they put some of that on?
Good markings on that one. It's got like a number 8 on its front. Classic.
It's got like a little love out on its nose. I don't know what it is now.
Classic. A cat, a nice blue. Look at that.
What's the mileage?
Hello.
225637.
Lovely.
Did you get the CVA?
Not serious, mine.
No.
Nice cat. You're lucky to find that one, aren't you?
Lucky one.
Normally when you go and try and get them, they're like bugger off. There's everything here, isn't there? There's Fords, petrol pumps, cats, engine rebuilds. We've got the lot.
That's your new big end bearings. Core plugs, got the rest of them. This is your new oil pump. Brand new oil pump. They're big end bearings, those are mains. New spark plugs, of course, I'll put them in. More bearings. They're your thrust washers, go on the side of the crown.
Them coming out.
New
Sump plug.
Yeah, always put a new one in. Some more. They're just a few of the basic bits that I put in on the bottom end.
Okay. Not only do we get cats, not only do we get engines, not only do we get to see Warren again, we get Eccles cakes in the mix. This video's got everything in it. Parts, tumblers, engine rebuilds, paint work, transport, and now Eccles cakes. It's a long story. Security, they might not let me film this, but I can smell the Eccles cakes. Oh, that's a nice smell. This is random. It's totally random, Warren. I drop off a short block for you, end up going in an Eccles Cakes factory. But it's not just any Eccles Cakes. This is the original. This is the original real deal. It's the real deal. They're not mince pies, it's the wrong time of year. No, it's the right time of year, wrong place. Right. So we've got to go off limits now, sorry guys. Well, that's it. I've already eaten 2. Warren's going to say bye. Say bye, Warren. You're on YouTube, Warren. You're on YouTube. Right, we're off. Dropped off. Bet you're glad I'm on the new camera. Right, all dropped off, and that concludes our part 24. We hope you enjoyed a few little odds and sods in the film today. We're going to see you in the new year. Have a good Christmas and New Year. We'll see you in the new year for part 25. We hope you enjoyed it. Got a good few things done, and as you can see, we're speeding up on all the little bits. They'll move pretty fast, so that's good, and it's good to watch all the different things going on the film. Now that the shell's gone, it's all sort of various components, which makes interesting viewing. We'll share any tools and tips we can along the way. Part 24 says goodbye for now, and we'll catch you in the new year. All the best to you. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you can, and try and share the links out. We're doing really good. We're approaching that magic 1 million. Can you help me? Can you help Cortina City? Can you spread the word? Spread the channel. Do what you can for us. We like that. Alright, catch you soon. Thanks a lot, everybody. Thanks for all the comments and subscribes. As always, all the best from Cortina City. Over and out. Just a quick goodbye on the selfie stick. Thanks for part 24 for watching. We'll see you in the new year. Bye from the workshop and all the things we do in here. Bye from the car on the wall. And we'll see you, as I said, a walk around, a dance of celebration and victory. Part 24, hope you liked it. Bits and bobs, as you know. Engine off. Parts clean, have a quick check, one last check, because you know we like this little box. We keep going back to it, but there's the bucket, there's the bolts. Look how clean, clean, clean. It didn't take long. So on that note, on an engine note, spin the screen around, we're going back on the selfie stick now. Here we are, back on the selfie stick. Yeah, what can I say? Well, we're going to have to call it a day. So thanks Don't forget to subscribe and do all those things you like to do. Comment, subscribe, share the link, see what you can do. Part 24's over. Happy New Year, Happy Christmas, all the best. We'll see you. Part 25. Over and out. See ya.
Oh no, it's not. I thought it was upside down. Come back! You know what? The car. Well, I put this bit on at the end. Hang on a minute.